Today's podcast is brought to you by Star Local Media, 14 newspapers and websites with a print distribution of 270,000 homes and monthly page views of 600,000 online. Star Local Media, your community voice for news. Welcome to another edition of the Star Local Media Sports Podcast. My name is Matt Welch. I'm the sports editor with Star Local Media, and I am being joined by Kendrick Johnson, who is the sports editor for the McKinney Courier-Gazette, as well as Brian Murphy, who does sports for Plano, Little Elm, and not Plano, Frisco, Little Elm, and Salina. That's me. I do Plano. He does Frisco, he does Little Elm, he does Salina, and we're here to talk some state high school soccer. We are down to the Final Four in the respective classifications for the high school soccer postseason. The state tournament gets rolling on Thursday out at Birkelbach Field down in Georgetown, and sure enough, we have a very healthy contingent of teams in 5A and 6A bound. I think this is the most that we've ever had going to state, honestly, guys. We have the Frisco Wakeland boys and girls representing 5A, and then over on the 6A side we have the Marcus girls and the Coppell boys. So let's start right there, Brian. Obviously, this is what a massive milestone for Frisco Wakeland for the first time in program history and school history that they have got both the boys and the girls to the state tournament in the same exact year. Brian, you saw them over the weekend. Some pretty thrilling regional tournament action out in Carrollton at Standard Stadium.
Y'all saw the wind. I know y'all were there for the Midland, and
Kendrick was 5 hours.
45 miles away.
That's crazy. Yeah. Every game I covered this weekend went into overtime. The boys, both boys games, both girls games for Wakeland. It was just the craziest weekend. So many lightning delays. I'm over it. I think I watched like 8 games worth of soccer this weekend because of the overtimes. And then the shootout between Highland Park and Wakeland girls. They win 4-2 in the shootout. It was just nuts. It was crazy.
Hey, hats off for them. Like I talked to Gracie Bryan 2 weeks ago, and it's like they're focused on the playoffs, but they wanted that Highland Park showdown. It's like they wanted to go back to the scene of the crime and right the wrong.
It's because they lost to them in the regional quarterfinal last year, 2-1. They were down 2-1 against them in the second half. They got the equalizer late in that game, so it's kind of a little bit of deja vu, like not again. And they get the equalizer, and then no one could score in extra time. And a lot of people in the press box were talking to me, man, Wakeland's dominating Highland Park. Like Highland Park got their goal early. They also got a penalty kick early, which is kind of suspect. It was off a handball, so it's always tough to see that. It wasn't even a foul. So they got their first goal on a PK, and then the shootouts were intense. I posted the YouTube video of the entire shootouts in my story, so it's like 7 minutes worth of shootouts. So it was intense, to say the least.
I shock with the Highland Park people because they think they just win state titles over there.
Oh man, all the girls were, not all of them, but I saw some from the press box doubled over and doubled down, laying down. The same thing for every team that loses.
Especially when you've got that state tournament, that state championship expectation with them being the reigning state champs and whatnot.
Especially in a heartbreaking fashion like that too. Another team, Wakeland boys, they beat Lake Ridge Friday night in the regional semifinal with 6 seconds left in the second overtime. Jacob Miller scored the game-winning goal with 6 seconds left. Number 6. I don't know if it's like a coincidence or not, but it was the craziest thing. I had my tweeted out saying, or not tweeted out, but I had it typed up. I was ready. All right, we're going to PKs. This is, wild finish coming here. And then scores with 6 seconds left. And it wasn't even like a crazy awesome goal or a ripper or anything. It was played around the box. It was off a throw-in. They got a throw-in with 20 seconds left. And Reed Stewart, the other senior captain, he throws it, chunks it deep, and it just kind of trickles around in the box, and Jacob Miller just barely gets a foot in, and I was like half looking. I was ready to go downstairs, be on the field for the shootouts, and it just barely rolls in. Everyone just starts going nuts. And I was like,
the Lake Ridge dudes even reply? Did they even try to run to midfield?
No, it was over. The boys pretty much went to the sideline, the stands, and started just celebrating like they just won the game. Because 6 seconds, it was over.
This isn't like that Celtics-Bucks game yesterday. You can't get off a buzzer beater in 6 seconds in soccer unless you just boot it straight down the midfield into the goal and whatnot. That's wild, man. Yeah. So what a milestone moment for the Wakeland. I mean, obviously Wakeland has been synonymous with great soccer for a while now, but this is the first time ever that both the boys and the girls are headed to state.
It's the third year in a row that the boys team is going to state also.
Wow.
Hats off to them.
That's right. Even with the change of head coach, they still have not missed a step. Andy Holt 2 for 2 now.
He set the bar pretty high his first year.
So I looked then at just what's ahead now for Wakeland. Let's see. They play on Thursday in the Class 5A state semifinals. The Wakeland girls kick things off. This is an early one. They're going to be in action at 9:30 a.m. on Thursday out in Georgetown. They play Humble Kingwood Park in their state semifinal, and then
it's humble.
Humble. Okay.
I work in that region. They take it. Yeah, the only word, and I think in the English language that the H is silent.
I apologize to all of our humble.
Where is that?
It's down in Houston
Oh,
area.
so I was about to say Southeast Texas.
Yeah.
Apologies to all of our viewers out in Humble, I should say. That's going to be really tough for me to adjust to. Fortunately, that's the only school from that area that is in the state tournament. And then at 7:30 later that night, you got the Frisco Wakeland boys in their state semifinal. They go up against Far Valley View, 31-0-0. So a very tricky draw for the Wolverines in their third straight trip to state. They get the number 2 team in the state period, according to the to TopDoorSoccer.com.
And since Jacob Miller, as in our fast forward rewind segment, we will catch up with him because if you ball, you get the call. If you getting shots to send your team to stay, you are definitely balling. So he's gonna get that call today.
And we talked about it last week. He's the one that gave me the interesting quote where, man, district play is just boring to us. You know, we turn it up in the playoffs. It's true. It's not even to be cocky or anything, but. And you scored the game-winning goal.
Apparently, just playoff games are getting boring too. If we're just going to try to save it until like the last second possible, to where we can break through.
Playoffs are boring. We just wait for state.
So obviously, congrats to Wakeland as they continue their postseason later this week in Georgetown for the state semifinals. We've also got a couple teams over in Class 6A that are going to be making the trip south as well, including a team that I got to see a couple times on Friday and Saturday. The Marcus girls were able to punch their first trip to state since 2007. They survived the gauntlet that is Region 1 out in Class 6A, and they will draw. Let's see, they get Katy Cinco Ranch. Katy Cinco Ranch, who is ranked as the number 1 team in the state per the Texas Girls Coaches Association. That one is going to be at noon on Friday out in Georgetown. For this Marcus team, I got to see them twice. I got to see them Friday when they defeated Mansfield 3-1, and then the game obviously that I was taking a more keen interest in was on Saturday when them and Allen squared off in the regional final. And this was a game where, you look at it kind of on paper and a lot of the just the baseline stats, time of possession, shots on goal, a lot of that stuff, kind of favored Allen, but they just could not crack Marcus's defense. It was a very impressive performance by a Marcus defense that was under. That was a little short-handed. They lost one of the starters on their back line, Katie Brown, in the regional semifinal against Mansfield to a knee injury. Yeah. And then so on Saturday they were obviously not just short-handed, but they had to roll out 2 freshmen, and they were so just these young pups who have just had to kind of just been been getting a lot of experience throughout the season, but they're kind of being kind of thrown to the wolves against one of the top offenses in the state in Allen. And through regulation, this was a match that went into overtime. Through regulation, Allen had a 12-2 advantage in shots on goal, and including some that were just like one right after another. In addition to that young defense, goalkeeper Stephanie Starr was just spectacular for Marcus. There were sequences where she would just have to turn away a point-blank goal, and then Allen gets the rebound and fires one off. Just a second later, she's got to get up and dive to another different angle to try to turn one away. It was some spectacular work in net. And then said this was 1-1 through regulation, and then in overtime, the first overtime, 5 minutes in. This was a tough one for Allen because everything about this is by the book. This is how you're supposed to defend the sequence. Marcus's Taylor Moon gets near the end line, sends over a cross. One of the Allen defenders tries to boot the ball out of bounds. Ball takes a bad bounce off the cleat and goes into the goal.
Oh, it was an own goal?
It was an own goal.
That's the worst.
It was an own goal. And everything by the books. It's you're in the right place, right play. Again, just you can't fault a hustle play ever. And just an unfortunate bounce for the Lady Eagles.
Was the wind a factor in that too?
The wind was actually, I noticed
it was dying down.
It felt, once we got down to the field afterwards, the wind wasn't really as noticeable, but you could tell during regulation at least that it was right in that 20 to 25 area. That I know a lot of matches in the area were kind of having to battle through, but then Marcus is able to get an insurance goal inside the final minute. They eliminate Allen, and they are bound for the state tournament. First time since 2007, and we'll see. The thing is, Katy Cinco Ranch has first off, one thing I noticed looking over their roster, it's a young team. They got 6 seniors on that team, and they got it's I think between their freshman and sophomore classes on that team, 12 players between that. So it's a team that could very well be in the mix at this time next year. But the thing with Marcus is, despite Katy Cinco Ranch's reputation, they're undefeated. Katy Cinco Ranch 25-0-2. Marcus is, they've seen everything at this point. Like when you're coming from what is arguably the best soccer district in the state, in District 5, 6A, you played South Lake Carroll twice. They actually drew with South Lake Carroll. They were the only team that didn't get outright defeated by South Lake Carroll in district play. You saw that team twice. You saw Byron Nelson, another team that advanced to the regional quarterfinals. You saw them 3 times. Beat them in the 3rd round of the playoffs, and now you just slayed Allen, which was the best team out of Class 6A and one of the best teams pound for pound in the state.
What a year for Allen, by the way, just in every sport. I feel like they're
we have 6,000 people. That's what happened.
It does feel like it's kind of gone up a level though this year. Like just
the boys winning state titles. That you can't say nothing about that.
Oh yeah.
Especially in basketball.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, for Marcus, they're so battle tested right now that nothing that Katy Cinco Ranch has for them on Friday is going to seem unfamiliar.
I think that's any team that's coming from the Metroplex. I think the coaches have told me from 6A boys and girls, I think in 5A that the Region 2 has been supposed to win like 8 of the last 9 years, something insanity.
That's the thing with the Wakeland Highland Park. Many people were saying the winner of that game was probably going to win state.
Yeah. So we'll see what if that indeed holds true.
Y'all have happy endings. I didn't have a happy ending.
Let's give Kendrick some time to shine. Kendrick, you drove 5 hours out west
just to watch one of the best teams in the state or the country.
The best teams in the country. They played the part. I won't say it wasn't. I won't say cliches. They wasn't meant to be.
We should clarify. We're speaking of the McKinney Boyd boys who had
Class 6A. The start of their story is this year was all about redemption. They got outplayed against South Lake last year. Played one of their worst games and get beaten in the shootout, and this year's been all about redeeming from that. They play South Lake again this year. Play them at home. Don't really play all that good in the regulation, but they win the shootout. And since that shootout, they just been building on it. They got rid of Duncanville. They had a classic game at Ron Post Stadium playing crosstown showdown rival McKinney.
Yeah, the 3rd round of the playoffs, right?
Which people saying was the biggest soccer game they've had since it was
McKinney and North did it.
Yeah, played it to go to state,
ago.
and it was girls, but it's the biggest boys.
Yeah.
So they had that emotional win, and I asked Coach Peak, would they be too high off that? And he's like, no, we're gonna be good. And then Friday they came. They were on the business trip. Woodford Friendship was a really good team. They controlled the ball, but it's like I saw things I never seen before. The ball goes straight up, and then the wind just sit there and take it back. People, we're in the middle of a West Texas windstorm, and it's 45 miles an hour, and it couldn't even went faster than that sometimes. Like I sit there and I try to wear a hat. I should have wore a beanie. Hat goes off going out the press box. I have to go chase it down. That's how much wind there was.
Almost came off a couple times while I was trying to do interviews or walking onto the field on Friday and Saturday, and it just keep coming up. I was like, stay on my. That's how bad the wind was.
So I had to wear my hat like a side, like I was a gangster. I was not trying to be cool. I was just trying to keep my hat.
They're like, who's this guy walking on the field?
So they played Woodford. The first half, that was one of those half they dominated, but they didn't have the results. But they knew sooner or later they were going to get that goal, and they got a beautiful goal by Roberto Gonzalez Gutierrez. I've seen him play multiple times, and I really hadn't recognized him. And it's like he came up big at the right time, and I talked to him after the game. He said, man, that's the biggest goal I made in my life.
Hey,
so
absolutely.
And they had the momentum. Their defense was very solid. One thing about Boyd, if you watch them, they don't like the measurables. Like people are like, oh, they're not that fast. They're not that good. I don't know how they win all these games. All they do is beat you, and they go by you. They're fast enough, and their technical skill is phenomenal. Well, we shift forward to Saturday. They controlled 75% of possessions. Irving, out of the 11 people, Irving had 9 people back and 2 people up, hoping to counter them.
Yeah,
just hoping. And the wind, even though it was only 25 miles an hour, it played a weird bounce. The ball carried over the air. It carried over 2 defenders who were experienced. They're out of position, and the goalie was up. And the guy gets right between them and scores in the 68th minute. So with 12 minutes to go, Boys went from being in control of this game. And a very controversial moment is they had a header by Tanner Binion in the 53rd minute that got disallowed, which is very questionable.
For why? What happened?
He didn't say it's offsides, but it was very questionable because it's one of those games. Irving knows, now that they got the trophy, they can admit this. If that game goes to overtime, they weren't going to beat Boyd. Boyd was the better team. If they play a series, Boyd wins that series.
And you said if
easily.
they played in like a dome,
if they played at the Star or something, there's no way they win that game. Boyd was the better team. They outplayed them. They just didn't get the results. Keep your heads up, guys. They had a great season. That's the 3rd team from Boyd's program that's gone to the regional final, and they were trying to go to the state for the first time since 2014, and they got a lot of young talent coming back, so they just reload over there. So don't think they're going away but it was the first time they lost in regulation in 46 games.
I know. Yeah, I remember I've dropped that number.
Like we're talking about people double all over. We had everybody, the parents and the fans, because they put so much into this, and this team had been building for this moment, and they got denied.
Are they losing a lot of their seniors?
Yeah, they lost 12. They had a great group. That group, I will go on record, that group was the best group of students that's ever came to that program.
Wow.
People are going to miss those guys. They have guys that could go play soccer in college that just want to be students. So they had like 5 guys going to college that probably could have like 8 or 9.
It's I think of a quote that Plano West head boys soccer coach Jimmy Dowell would often note in a post-game interview that sometimes, soccer can just be a cruel game sometimes.
Yeah, they handled it well. I shout out to Coach Speaking and staff. Of course, people were emotional, but it's like you put so much work in, and you outplayed. Like it wasn't like they didn't play their best game, but they played enough to win the game.
But it just takes one bounce. Whether it's by your doing or not, just one little miss, like the Allen sequence, like Allen's defenseman just gets right in front, makes a perfect play on the ball, just a bad bounce off the cleat, and it's an own goal.
I clearly think if they would have got to the tournament, they would have won state, because it was getting through this region was the hard thing to do.
Yeah. It's see, as you look, I guess elsewhere then in Class 6A, we did have a team on the boys' side that is going to be headed there. Out of Region 2, that was Coppell, no stranger to the state tournament. Coppell making their 9th trip to state in program history, 4th time in the last 6 seasons.
Do they reseed in soccer, or do they play? Or do Region 1?
That's a good question.
I've on a couple of one state tournaments, so I'm not a novice, but it's been so.
That's a good question. I don't know personally.
Because I know the Coppell and remember how the Crazy Rain, they were supposed to play Boyd in the regular season.
And that would have been
because
very
it got
fitting.
rained out. They were trying to get that game, and it got rained out, so it would have been very interesting to see them play.
Judging off of, I'm just looking at the matchups right here and the head-to-head records, it does look like that they did reseed, because you have Alif Elsick, who's 20-0-2, going up against Irving, 15-5-5, and that's the team that has
those guys. Those guys were 4th seed in their district.
So they do have
snuck in the playoffs, and they beat like 3 ranked teams, including number 1 ranked team in the state. So they didn't just show up in Georgetown. They got a little luck on Saturday, but luck counts.
That's what you need at this stage of the game. No team wins any championship in any sport without just a little bit of luck along the way.
Maybe they're like Wakeland. They're saving the best soccer for the playoffs.
It does look like they do have these teams seeded based on winning percentage.
Okay.
So that, I guess it means that they do reseed. But yes, Coppell, no stranger to the state tournament. They're seeking their 4th overall state title in boys soccer. This is a very senior-heavy team. Justin Thomas has talked a little bit about them in previous editions of the podcast. They got 21 seniors on that team. That's a lot for a soccer team. So it's at least a group that's been together, for a long time, and has kind of been building up to this, to this moment.
Seems like now or never type deal for Coppell. Yeah.
And they've, they fit the good old classic. If I'm going to rip out the, something out of the cliche Rolodex, a team that's peaking at the right time. It's a team
I've heard that a couple times this weekend.
It's they're yet to allow a goal during the postseason.
Wow.
They've outscored opponents 12-0. They actually have only allowed 1 goal over their last 10 matches. Period. So it's a testament to just the strides that are being made on that end of the pitch. A testament to the job in goal by Austin Simigian. Their back line, which includes players like Thomas Grimmer, Asa Robichaud, Jeremy Basso, and Juan Pablo Rodriguez. And you look at what's Juan Pablo Rodriguez, and they actually kind of got here in a like we've been mentioning, kind of some awkward finishes. Their regional final down south against Conroe on Saturday, they won that 1-0, and they got that goal in the 68th minute on a corner kick that deflected off the head of a Conroe defender.
Oh,
so man,
that luck counts.
That's an own goal, right?
Yeah.
Luck counts.
That's the thing. Like
Boyd's not even in the state tournament. They only gave up 4. Counting the playoff goal, they gave up 4 goals the whole year.
That's why you play the games.
Yep. It's a lot
4
of
goals the whole year. Like Chase Coy and Jack Monty and them had a great defensive unit 2 years in a row, no losses, and just an end like that. Just it makes you feel sick
some
to your
very
stomach.
between your match, Coppell, and then my match with Allen and Marcus. Some very unconventional finishes, but like I said,
don't forget mine. Score.
Absolutely. Yes. Like I said, to quote Coach Dowell, soccer can be a cruel game sometimes. So we've got and let's see. Then Coppell, they open up on Friday. Their match is they actually have the nightcap. They are at 7:30 p.m. Friday out in Georgetown. They play San Antonio Reagan. The winner of that will get the winner of Irving versus Alif Elsick in the other semifinal. Wow, that's So let's kind of transition. We've spent time talking about all these soccer teams. One of which we mentioned was the Wakeland boys as they look to win another state title. Well, Kendrick Johnson, this gentleman right over here, he was out chatting with one of their standout players, Jacob Miller, in the latest edition of our Student Athlete Spotlight, the Fast Forward Rewind, just to talk a little bit about Wakeland and this latest run of brilliance that they are on. This is what Jacob had to say on the Wolverine season thus far.
Kendrick Johnson coming to you once again with a Fast Forward Rewind segment where we look back at the past and head to the future. This week we got Frisco Wakeland soccer superstar, Mr. Jacob Miller, the hero of this weekend's regional tournament. So give us some insight to scoring the goal to send your team to the state.
Honestly, I was not expecting it to happen. For the last 2 minutes of the game, all that was going through my head was just about penalty kicks. That was all I could think about. And when we had that last throw-in with about 30 seconds left, the ball just came to my feet, and I just did what I knew to do. And it went in, and then when that ball went in, we celebrated like crazy. And there was no better feeling than that.
Was it like an instant thing, or did you hit the pause? Like, did this just happen?
Yeah.
Or did it's like one of those things, as soon as it went off your foot, you knew it was game time?
Yeah, I shot it, and I was at a really weird angle, so I just kicked the ball as hard as I could. I didn't really try and put it anywhere. But when that ball went in, I saw it go in, and I was just like, shoot, like, did that actually just happen? And then I started celebrating, and it really did not hit me that actually happened until about 10 minutes after the game. My teammates were coming up to me, and they were like, dude, you just scored with 6 seconds left. And I was like, I know, that is absolutely crazy, because I've never done anything like that before. So it was pretty cool. It was pretty awesome to see.
So it's pretty cool, the fact that you hit the biggest goal of your career at the right moment.
Oh, yes, sir, absolutely.
Give us some insight to y'all team's mentality. Of course, y'all defending state champions. I've been getting everybody's best shot. Is it a big deal that y'all have to finish the job for the season to be a success in your opinion?
Yes, sir. See, this is our 3rd year in a row, and so we're very confident, but we also know that we have to make a statement and defend our name, because we've been called the powerhouse of the playoffs recently, and I think we've been showing that, but the fact that we're going down again, we do feel quite a bit of pressure on our shoulders to go out and win it again, because we think we should, and we almost know we should, because this is our 3rd year in a row. So we're pretty confident, but there's a lot of pressure on us.
How much does experience play in this? Fact that, like you say, y'all been there before, or does it just like it's a separate year, separate team, or does it do matter, the fact that y'all been there, done that before?
I think it does matter that we've been there before. It does take a little bit of pressure off, we gain experience from going there so often. So I feel like it allows us to play better to our abilities and everything. But at the end of the day, there's still a lot of pressure on us each and every year we go, because every year is a different year. And so there's a lot of new players and new aspects of the game that we need to adapt to and feel out.
Give us some insight to the euphoria of lifting that trophy, knowing that you're the best in the state, got the medal around your neck, and everybody's going crazy. How often do y'all dream about that? The fact that y'all actually tasted. Some people talk about it. Y'all have already actually lived it and trying to repeat it.
Yes, sir. We talk about it all the time. It's 2 years later from the first year we went when I was a sophomore, and we still to this day talk about it, even though we've been 3 years in a row. We still talk about the days when we went when I was a sophomore. We talk about last year, and we're going to talk about this year even when I go to college. I'm going to come back and visit with all my former teammates, and we're going to say, hey man, do you remember when we were down at state, how crazy that was? So it's definitely a lot of lasting memories that we get to make with each other, and it's pretty awesome to watch.
We know in Frisco in general, in the city, it's a very competitive city. That's thrown between schools. How big a deal would it be for y'all class of 2018 legacy? In fact, y'all be the group with 2 rings if y'all can get the job done. How big a deal do you think that's going to be when y'all look about it like 10 years from now? You got kids and stuff, and you talk about with the other teams since y'all do this on a yearly basis.
Yeah, absolutely. When you were saying about 10 years from now, if I have kids, I'm definitely gonna whip out the 2 rings if we win this year and say like, hey, I was a pretty cool dude back in high school. I'm gonna talk about this forever. It's pretty stinking cool.
How's it cool? How much cooler is the fact that the ladies get to join y'all too, and they overcome the Highland Park hump? How much just talk about the school euphoria, because you walk through the halls, it's like it's a football season, even though it's soccer season.
Yeah. When they beat Highland Park, man, Highland Park was number 3 in the country, and they've been to state numerous years in a row, 3 or 4 years in a row. So that game went to PKs, and when they won, that was absolutely crazy. And the fact that we also won, that does not happen very often. And so this is going to be a one-of-a-kind trip for the 2 teams for sure.
Give some insight to that trip back from regionals back here to Frisco. How crazy was that?
That was pretty stinking crazy. We were so happy. Everyone was on like an all-time high because before regionals we would recall state from the previous years and we'd be like, man, we want to go back so bad. And when we accomplish our goal and we get to go back, everyone's just so happy, in a good mood, and we're just going crazy and just living it up. It's awesome.
How big a deal would it be for Wolverine Nation if both y'all be able to get the job done this weekend in Georgetown?
If we both go out there and get the job done, that'll be pretty crazy. That'll be something that does not happen often at all, if ever. I don't even know if that's ever happened before. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember a time where the boys and girls team from a school has won state in the same year. So that would be absolutely crazy.
And what is it about the Frisco soccer programs that help y'all get ready for this stage? Because not even just y'all district, y'all have solid players that y'all see to get y'all through the district and stuff like that. And even looking at y'all roster, y'all got some kids on JV and freshmen that would be stars at other schools.
Yeah.
But since they're here, they're just another player. So what is it about y'all system that makes y'all so special and makes this as a program that's basically y'all don't rebuild, y'all reload?
Yeah, so basically when I was a sophomore, when I was a freshman, I would practice with the varsity squad. And, I wasn't on the varsity team, but they would mingle the teams together. And I think that's one of the greatest ways they prepare the younger men for when they are juniors and seniors and when it's their time to step up. So really, it's about preparing the younger guys and getting them ready for when it's their shot to go. And that's exactly what they did with my group and groups before. And I think that's the main reason why we've been to state 3 years in a row. I think that's why we're going again this year.
What's the standard and what's the expectation for this program? Some kids in middle school hey, I want to be part of that, but they don't know what it entails to be a Wolverine.
Yeah.
What is it? Would it be a Wakeland Wolverine?
To be a Wakeland Wolverine, it's about coming out here every single day and just working your butt off. That's what we've done all year. That's what we've done my whole career here at Wakeland, and we just work so hard, and we do our very best to make sure we stay focused every single day. And we keep in our mind that we want to be the best in the state, and we will do whatever it takes to make that happen.
After getting the title last year, did y'all get a chance to celebrate, or did y'all shift y'all focus? When did repeating come in y'all head? Was it that season started, or as soon as you got that ring last year and hosted that trophy, we're doing this again next year?
Well, we graduated quite a bit of seniors last year, so when we held up that ring and everything was said and done, we were like, we're a whole new team this year from last year. So we really didn't start thinking about state until a few weeks ago when we started winning playoff games. And we made playoffs. We knew playoffs was going to come. We were confident in that. But state was a different question. We weren't sure if we were going to make it this far. But up until about the third or fourth round of playoffs, up until about the third or fourth round of playoffs, we were like, hey, we're doing pretty well. We can keep this momentum going and maybe make this happen again. And that's what we're doing so far. And so we're hoping to do that again this year.
How does it feel to be the kid to get the goal to propel y'all in one of the most pivotal playoff games y'all had in a while? And a lot of people were talking about your quote last week,
yes, sir,
where you said basically we turn it on in the playoffs.
Yes, sir.
So how's it feel to be that man, to walk the walk and talk the talk?
It's awesome. I've never had anything like this happen before. After that game, I was receiving text messages from everybody, my relatives, my teammates, my friends at school, teachers. Everybody was texting me saying, congratulations, you're the man, you're doing awesome, keep it up. So it was just feeling good. It gave me a great big boost of confidence in myself and in my team. And I think when big moments happen like that, everybody gets psyched up and ready to play the next game. And that was the big reason we were ready to play tomorrow, is because we had such an eventful night the night before.
I was saying, when you ball, you get the call. So how does it feel, the fact that I'm giving you that call right here at Frisco Wakeland campus?
It feels great. The fact that you're out here talking to me is pretty awesome. It makes me feel confident in myself and special. Makes me feel like I did something for the school. Makes me feel like I made a statement. So it's a pretty cool thing to be able to do for my team and myself. And
just talk about the support, because y'all, like I said, walking down the halls, it felt like it's football season.
Yeah.
How's it feel to get that mega support from y'all Wolverine Nation?
At a lot of schools, you don't see support for soccer teams. It's in Frisco especially. It's all football. With Jerry's World up here, the Star, everything. Everyone loves football. Everyone, supports football the most. Friday night football games, everybody's there. But this year, there's been a lot of support for soccer, and we don't see that very often in a Frisco ISD school. So it's been really cool to watch, and it makes the games more fun. it makes our team play better, you know, because there's more people there. So we feel like we have an edge on our shoulder. We got to do better. So it definitely has made an impact on the year.
And do you have a message for any fans or anybody that's seeing this video? Do you want to send them out a message?
I just want to say that if you put your mind onto something, you can do it. Because despite all the people that doubt you or say you can't, look at us this year. There's been so many people that have told us we can't make it back to state, and that's exactly what we did. So just put your mind to something, and you can do it, and just work at it.
That's it for this week's Fast Forward Rewind. This week's guest, Jacob Miller. Good luck this weekend, brother, in Georgetown.
Thank you.
Thanks to Jacob Miller. That man balled. He got the call. Good luck this weekend.
I love that. Yeah.
Good luck this weekend to all of Wolverine Nation. Hopefully they represent it. Keep my man Murphy busy while writing about state titles.
Woo. So now as we will do, we're going to close the podcast by looking at taking a look at what we have coming up tomorrow night, Tuesday night, for our live coverage dockets, plus any news and notes from within our areas that have come down since we last spoke. Kendrick, where are you going to be tomorrow night?
It's still up in the air. I might end up being Carrollton. Look for a feature in the McKinney Gazette. I'll be featuring the North softball program. 15 seasons. 15 playoff appearances. Don't get no better than that.
Wow,
that's pretty solid.
And at the end of the week, I'll be in Crosstown Showdown. Can't skip any Crosstown Showdowns. It'll be on softball diamond. It'll be McKinney and Boyd. McKinney will try to even up the series after losing to Boyd the first time in a game that was played at McKinney North due to weather. That's right. Because McKinney North, I don't know y'all have seen their facilities. They're top of the line. They got the field turf with the drainage system. Coach Pratt and them, they went all out. So that's like the standard now for
McKinney North. Doesn't play around.
They don't play around at all.
They got the new stadium coming along the way next year for football, and
they're gonna transition it to the other field. So by the time you go to any game McKinney and it rains, it's still gonna get in the next year or two. It's gonna be universal.
Now, if only every field did that.
How about you, Brian? What's your coverage docket looking like?
Wakeland tomorrow. Heritage at Wakeland baseball. Both teams tied for, I guess, first place, because there's two other teams tied. So I guess 4 teams.
Yeah, four-way tie.
Four-way tie for first place right now. So the playoff picture is looking pretty set on those 4 teams making the playoffs. Now it's just who will be seeded what. And tonight will be tomorrow I should say, will be a big factor, the big deciding factor in that one.
And then on my end, I will be taking in some 6-6A baseball in Plano tomorrow, out at Plano Senior specifically for a rivalry matchup between Plano Senior and Plano West. The Wildcats in first place, looking to take another step towards that district title. The Wolves scraping and clawing. I believe they're tied for 4th.
With McKinney Boyd.
Yep, they're tied with Boyd for McKinney. They're tied with McKinney Boyd for 4th place. And obviously they are still in must-win territory. Cannot surrender a game at this stage of the season if they are looking to make it to the playoffs. So
6A is always crazy.
Oh yeah, 6-6.
There's a game that separates from 1st to 6th place. Two games.
I can never keep up with any sports.
Never a dull moment in District 6-6A. And then on just the news front, that's some pretty big recruiting news on the football scene. Dropped down on Friday, I believe it was. Allen stud wide receiver Theo Weiss ranked as the #1 player in the state per Rivals.com. He has made his decision, and he is going to actually recommit to Oklahoma. He initially committed to OU as a sophomore back when, and decommitted a couple months afterwards just to kind of take in the whole recruiting scene and whatnot. He issued his top 5 schools 2 weeks ago, and he has it narrowed down, and he is going to he is verbally committed to head back to Norman, and Sooners looking like that. Oh yeah, absolutely.
You're excited about that.
Sure, why not? That's right. That Allen OU pipeline just keeps growing, man. Between Kyler Murray, Bobby Evans starting at tackle, Tay Evans, his brother linebacker, and then Lee Morris. That's right, Lee Morris, one of an old Allen wide receiver. So yes, Theo Weiss verbally commits to Oklahoma. So let's see. Other than that, I guess that is all I have.
I did have one thing.
Sure.
R.J. Hampton was named TABC Hoops Player of the Year. For Class 5A.
Oh, Class 5A. I would say. Was Maxie for 6A?
He's 6A. I didn't see. Did he win 6A?
I don't know.
It's a travesty if he did.
Yeah. He was the best player in Class 6A without question.
Yeah. I saw them play against each other.
And you did forward me that list from USA Today. USA Today named their all-Texas, all-state team and whatnot.
They both got to be on there,
Maxie and Hampton were both on there. Yeah.
And then,
if y'all haven't seen these guys play, these guys are one and done. Transcendent talents. Maxie, if they change the rule, will not be at any university. He's that good. I've been knowing about this kid since he was in 7th grade. My buddy trains him. It's like, man, because we all went D1. Hey, man, he's better than us. This kid's going to be in the league. I'm talking about one and done because with the rule. But if they switch that rule this summer, he will be coming straight from the Metroplex and straight into the NBA.
I got to see him score, was it 46 points in their state semifinal game.
That's a state record for a state championship.
It might have tied the state record. I can't recall, but yeah, it was. Kid's just an absolute joy to watch. And also on that same list, the USA Today All Texas All-State team. Allen head coach Jeff McCullough named the coach of the year. So shout out to Coach McCullough. Eagles won their first state title earlier.
And remember softball, I think Prosper beat DeCollin again. They Prosper said they the champs this year.
So Prosper softball undefeated 12-0 right now, and they've already beat Little Elm twice. They've beaten the Colony twice. So
they took a rematch.
Yeah, pretty handily too.
So what happens when you're a 6-18 playing at 5?
Yeah.
I wonder if we'll get a playoff rematch.
Miss Valerie Little and the athletic director for Prosper. Congrats to y'all. They racking up district titles. Have the girls won every district title this year? They clean. I know they won in volleyball.
Oh, they won in basketball. But they're trying to be the first team it's done one other time. A 1A team won the softball championship and the volleyball championship. Prosper is trying to do that this year.
Wow.
For the first time ever.
All right, that is about all we had here, folks. Kendrick, Brian, appreciate y'all for tagging along. We'll be out and about throughout the duration of the week, covering these games. You can obviously follow us along on Twitter. Kendrick, where can these folks follow you along on Twitter?
At Kendrick Johnson, like Kendrick Johnson, but no N, JOHNSO. It wasn't available.
Just like mine wasn't available the way I wanted it to, so it's at Brian Murphy _. So underscore at the end, and it's Brian with a Y.
You can follow me along at MWelch SLM. Once our stories are done, the first spot that you can check them out, as well as video highlights, rapid reaction podcasts, what have you, is at starlocalsports.com. Folks, I appreciate y'all for checking out this edition of the podcast. We'll be back on Thursday with another edition. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your week, and we will talk to y'all later. Thanks again to our sponsors, Star Local Media, 14 newspapers and websites with a print distribution of 270,000 homes and monthly page views of 600,000 online. Star Local Media, your community voice for news.